you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Not an entrepreneur, but you're in that space, like that mindset. You're a comedian. You're like a rock enthusiast.
And a rapper.
But you're also a rapper.
Yeah.
They all sound like separate people.
Yeah.
You might be the only rapper, rock enthusiast, comedian, entrepreneur of all time.
Maybe. And that's my niche.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
that is very niche. Yeah.
But
just three guys in a room like, this guy's the best. Yeah.
You know what's funny though? I saw a video of, Gary Vee, the business guy.
Yeah.
I saw a video of him talking about this once.
Do a cardboard sale right now. Do a cardboard sale right now.
It's really, you go to a cardboard sale and it's like, you flip it. You know? Work 97 hours a day.
Your mom has expensive stuff in her attic. Sell it.
Sell it.
He's a fucking lunatic.
He's a best.
Yeah, he's a fucking lunatic. He's a lunatic.
But I used to watch his content a lot. I met him actually. He's the exact same in person.
Oh, and I saw a video of a young guy meeting him the other day, and he was like, "Hey man, I started a bit," and he's like, "That's great, man. That's great." And it was such a like, it's spot on to what you think he would say.
My friend mentioned to me once, because we used to watch a lot of Gary Vee back in the day, and he said, I think sometimes Gary could use a bit more nuance. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, like I was watching this video he did with this like college kid, and the guy was asking Gary for advice, and the college kid was like, yeah, so I'm in college right now, but I don't know, I'm not really sure it's what I want to do. And he was like, you need to drop the fuck out.
Yeah.
It's like, really? Yeah,
I'm sure.
He was at like an Ivy League school, and he was like $200,000 already in debt,
I feel like I've seen things as well where people are like, yeah, my mum's got cancer, so I look after her pretty much full time. Yeah. And he's like, it doesn't matter. Okay, you need to fuck that bitch. And just go
to cardboard sales. Look after your mom, and when your mom's sleeping because of all the meds, go sell Mickey Mouse toys.
Look, your mom's gonna die soon, okay? So just go fucking make money now. Also
optimize your time. When you're with your mom and you're waiting for the IV drip to put the chemo inside of her, go on eBay on sold items. Go under sold listings so you know what they're selling for. And eventually that bitch will just pass the fuck out.
You could sell the chemo. You could sell your mom's chemo.
And also, think of every negative as a positive. Yeah. When your mom dies, that's even more items for you to flip. Because now all of the stuff that was hers, you can flip that. Always be flipping.
Oh my god, he is a fucking. I never really got into him too much, but I definitely was kind of.
I got into him hard.
I can imagine.
I got into him so hard. So, but this is the thing. One of his videos that I saw, which was actually a really good one. It was like a reel or something, and he said people talk about like niche and stuff, and like figuring out what your niche of your personal brand is and stuff. And he's like, your personal brand. He's like, people said, like, for example, for me, I ran Wine Library, which is my dad's liquor store and stuff. He's like, I ran that. I'm a New York Jets fan as well. It's a big thing. I'm trying to buy the Jets. That's my mission. Is that my thing? But also I'm the social media, digital marketing, content guy. And he's like, what's my brand? And he's like, all of those are my brand. Me being the guy who knows and does wine and also has a digital marketing agency and is obsessed with the New York Jets. That is my brand. And there'll be people that resonate with all of that. And some people might only resonate with one of them. But that is my brand. And it's like kind of like Joe Rogan. It's like Joe Rogan is stand-up comedy, but it's also health and MMA. And then like psychedelics and aliens and stuff. That's the whole, obviously, like that's the stereotype of Joe Rogan. It's like aliens, MMA, and stand-up. But it's like, there are so many people that like those things that like him. And so it's funny actually, because I was only having this conversation now when you said that that's actually a really good point. Like taking the rock enthusiast thing away, because that's just being a fan. But being a guy who's a rapper and a business guy and a stand-up, there's definitely like, there's something there. And I think you have to use who you are.
I think you're also just like, you're the rabbit hole guy.
Yeah.
Like you love a rabbit hole.
Love a rabbit hole.
You fucking love a rabbit hole. I feel like that's because there's got to be a lot of other autistic motherfuckers out there that are just constantly going down different rabbit holes. You could be their guy.
Yeah, I could be the autistic rabbit hole guy.
Yeah.
This is the thing. I've had this feeling for the last like few months where I've kind of felt this weird almost peace about the fact that I'm like, I'm not where I want to be yet. And I don't think you ever are, but I'm really not where I want to be yet. But I'm actually really happy with where I'm at. And I feel like, it's a weird feeling to describe, but I sort of feel like I know where I'm at on my journey of my brand and who I am. And I know I get the feelers of where it could go. It's really badly articulated, but I'm like, even you saying about like the rapping thing and then the entrepreneurial thing, I'm like, I've always been like, no, but I can't incorporate any of those into stand-up because that makes it. But it's like, well, no, maybe there is a way that I can do something in the future where I get to incorporate my brand being multiple things. Maybe it doesn't mean doing all of those in the same thing, like doing a stand-up set and then taking a break to give a motivational speech and start rapping. Maybe it doesn't mean doing all those together.
It could do.
It could do, but maybe it means like, oh, maybe I'm like the guy who like does stand-up and then like, you know, once a month I post a fucking freestyle. And
yeah, or
like,
you drop a comedy album and then a rap album.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be actually quite cool.
That would be really fun.
Yeah, like part 1, part 2, like the kind of, you know, series, if you will.
That would be really cool.
I think that's actually a really good idea.
That's actually a really good idea.
That's actually a
fucking sick idea. Yeah, that's a sick idea.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, no, I think.
Thanks for saying that, man. I really appreciate that.
No, that's
given me a lot to think about.
I think you. I think that is the thing, though, isn't it? It's just finding that section of people. I think it's like you said with Joe Rogan. Like Joe Rogan is not fortunate, but the reason he worked so much is because a lot of the things that he likes, 90% of men are into at least one of those things.
Yeah.
That's why it got so big, because if you're not into MMA, where you're into fucking around with your boys and being goofy, if you're not into that, you might be into aliens. If you're not into that, have you ever seen a fucking grizzly bear attack? You know what I mean? Like he touches on all these things that are like very like simple and like, you know, kind of just basic masculine like attractions, and I think that's why it works. But
go on.
I was saying it's just hilarious as well. I was just thinking about Rogan's podcast. Like he'll have a astrophysicist on and they'll be like, "Hey man, have you seen this video, man? A fucking tiger attacking a fucking." It's like he's so
himself.
Yeah, he could have, 1 week he'll have a physicist on, then he'll have a comedian on. He'll talk about pretty much the same stuff throughout. Like he'll obviously touch on their stuff as well.
And also, I think what's really interesting is, and this is so much easier said than done, and it's harder to do it than it is to say it. But I think there's a thing with personal branding, especially in the age of like everyone has a personal brand and X, Y, Z, especially in the realms of content, because it's that, you know, that corny quote of like, I don't know who said it, but the quote is something like, the best, like there will never be another you, like the best chance, you know, what was it, be you because everyone else was already taken, or something like that.
Yeah, something like
but
that.
Like in the age of content where everything is so saturated, like everything is saturated.
Yeah.
There are a million people doing everything. Like think about how many stand-up clips there are, how many sketch clips there are, how many music clips there are, how many music videos there are.
And how many of them are similar as
How many of them are similar, how many reaction videos, how many travel vloggers, influencers, makeup people, pranksters,
food
bloggers,
people,
food stuff, chefs, art people, 3D printing guys. Like there's millions of everyone.
Yeah,
and
crazy.
It's such a fucking minefield. And so your best chance of standing out, and it's not like, I'm not even taking my own advice on this,
it's just doing
but your best chance of standing out is actually just fully embracing 110% of exactly who you are and hoping that that resonates with people. And if you're someone who like fucking, you know, is a country music singer and you're obsessed with like marine biology, there will be people who are fascinated by nature and marine biology and they love country music, and and those people, yes, it's a smaller niche, but this goes back to that whole 1,000 true fans thing of like, all you need is 1,000 people who will spend $100 on you a year.
Yeah.
And, you know, that could be $10 a month on the Patreon. That could be, you know, 3 shows a year at 30 quid a show, whatever. But you need 1,000 people to spend 100 quid on you a year, and that's 6 figures a year.
Yeah.
You don't need to have the biggest niche. And also the good thing about having a really particular niche is that people who are really, really into your niche and exactly who you are will be so much more zealous over you than a fan of like someone else. Like someone who's a fan of like, I don't know, Fetty Wap, for example, is nothing compared to a fan of like Jay-Z, because, you know, there's more depth and lyricism and everything else. And it's the same thing. Someone who's a fan of like Gary Vee is a fan of Gary Vee because of his style, because of how much he loves like flipping stuff, because of how he swears, because of his love for the New York Jets.
They love him.
Yeah. So if you're a business or a sales guy and you're a New York Jets fan, you're going to be so much more of a zealot for Gary Vee than you are for like Tony Robbins or Grant Cardone or any of these other business guys.
Yeah.
Because it speaks to you personally.
Yeah, I think also like to that point, it's like the whole thing of like a follower versus a fan, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like Logan Paul has a bunch of followers.
Yeah.
And, you know, a bunch of fans as well. But like someone like, yeah, like you said, like Gary Vee or something, those are people that like, they would almost fucking die for people like that. Do you know what I mean? Like they're obsessed with them. Whereas like, a bunch of like these sketch guys on Instagram that are really popping off, they've got 1 million followers, but people don't like, if they disappeared tomorrow, people wouldn't be like, where have you gone? I need you in my life. They'd be like, oh, he made funny stuff once upon a time. You know? So there is a big difference between a follower and an actual fan.
And that's why I think to play, like to win this game and win it in the way that is more enjoyable. I think to win this game, I think you have to embrace all parts of yourself, because otherwise the problem is you're just competing on the same level as everyone else, and you're not using your natural advantages. It's like, you know, if I use me as an example, or use you as an example, like, okay, so you love MMA and stuff like that, right? So you're a comedian and you love MMA. If you say, okay, well, sketches are doing really well, loads of people are doing sketches. Okay, you can start doing sketches, but if you're only doing sketches, you're competing with another comedian who maybe they're just a comedian, maybe they're not as interesting, or they don't have any hobbies, or whatever it might be, but just a random person.
Yeah.
Their sketches might be better than yours, but you're actually only operating at like 60% of your brand capacity.
Yeah, you're not tapping into
because you're not tapping into who you actually are. So you're just making sketches the same way he's making sketches. You're both making sketches about being in the workplace or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But actually, if you were making sketches about whatever and you were making content about your thoughts on MMA, there would be people that would see that and be like, dude, that's exactly what I thought when I saw that fight.
Yeah.
Also, this guy's fucking hilarious.
Exactly.
Then you have a fucking fan.